All the great things we're going to see. And I think what you'll see is
later, but we're just super excited to have you here today.
It was a collective group. We kind of reestablished our mission this year at the school. I think she was here 5 years. Marla.
Do you need any markers?
No, I'm trying to find my other person.
Alright, so it's 64 remainder.
E at the end. Can you look at your word of the day and make sure you have ED? And if you do, circle it.
We're excited for a fun and engaging morning.
So who is ready to experience our school and what we call the DV difference? Let's go.
The question period after you
guys get to eat pie too?
We're doing different stations. It's like rotation.
Really amazing display from home today. We can see a little bit of that, tell you how we guys do. Welcome to Harvard.
think the drug deal had taken place. So they were following him, but all of a sudden, in the middle of the street,
p.m. All right, moving on to our moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Sorensen, would you mind leading us this evening? If I can just make an ask, if in our hearts as we go through the moment of silence, if we can keep in our thoughts. So we lost one of Peoria's finest, one of our educators who lifts up our students every day. so recently. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen. All right, moving on to section 5.1, address agenda and consider adoption or recommend changes. I do have an ask to move in our action items 10.3, move it up to the first position, so it'll be dropping 10.1 and 10.2 down one slot. And I would just need a second to formalize that.
second.
Ms. Concha, the request is to move 10.3 to the top of action items, move the other two items down one position, and that has been seconded by Dr. Sorensen. Board members, any other requests to address the agenda or make any changes? Dr. Sorensen?
No, sir.
Mrs. Rooks?
No, thank you.
Mrs. Ewing?
No, thank you.
All right. Ms. Concha, are you good with that edit?
Yes, sir, President Sandoval.
Okay. Oh, yes, there are. Thank you for that. Let's see here. Ms. Concha, we do have a few public comments within the consent agenda. One is tied to 8.2 Human Resources Report. So I want to go ahead and pull 8.2. And let's see here. Looks like that is the only item tied to the consent agenda. So that said, in addition to my earlier edit to the agenda, I'd also like to pull 8.2, the Human Resources Report.
I will second that.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Rooks. So, Mrs. Concha, let me know when you're ready with those edits, and then I'll request a vote.
President Sandoval, we can take the vote now.
Okay. So I do need a motion to request to approve the agenda with the requested edits, which is moving 10.3 to the first position in action and pulling 8.2, the Human Resources Report.
I will motion that we move 10.3 up to 10.1 and then removing 8.2 on the consent. I will second.
All right, Ms. Concha, we have a motion by Mrs. Rooks and a second made by Mrs. Ewing. Board members, please cast your votes. All right, motion passes with 5 yeas and 1 absent. And just an FYI for everybody, Mrs. Hill will not be joining us this evening, either by in person or virtually. All right, thank you, board members. All right, moving on to section 6, recognition, 6.1. Ms. Ari, welcome.
Good evening, President Sandoval, members of the board, Dr. Reynolds, and guests. We have a number of recognitions for you this evening, so much to celebrate here in the Peoria Unified School District. Our first recognition is to highlight a treasured event here in Peoria Unified. This is a massive celebration of the arts and so many of the great things that take place across our schools in the way of arts education. If you haven't had an opportunity to attend the Peoria Arts and Cultural Festival, well, we're going to tell you a little bit more about it tonight. But we recently celebrated the 21st annual event. It was on Saturday, March 4th, and had a record turnout. Just beautiful weather that day. If you had an opportunity to join us, if you were there, you would have seen more than 3,000 students performing in dance, choir, theater, and band or strings. There were 134 art boards strategically placed throughout the multiple city blocks in Peoria, featuring more than 3,500 pieces of visual art from students in preschool through 12th grade. It was a wonderful celebration, and we'd like to direct your attention to the screens to take a look. Well, as you can see, the Peoria Arts and Cultural Festival is something that we are very proud of, and this event would not be as successful as it is without the months of hard work and planning by our dedicated arts education team. This evening, we do have them here with us, and I would like to make sure we can give a big round of applause to that team. Our Director of Arts Education, Mr. Robert Panzer. And I think he is joined by both Mrs. Stacy Hamilton and Mrs. Justina Riley. As you can probably tell, it takes months and months of planning to be able to pull that off, and they really are the masterminds behind it all. But the event is truly made possible with our very talented arts educators. They work not only throughout the year to prep their students for the event, but many of them also take on leadership roles and really help to support the event that day. We have invited them here tonight. Many of them were able to join us. I hope I don't leave anyone out, but we are so pleased to have those arts educators here with us tonight. Kate Manasco, Sam Rogers, Kelly Freeman, Molly Treveline, Frank Eager, and if you were here early, you likely heard the sounds coming from Mr. Evans and the incredible District Honor Jazz Band. I'm going to look to Mr. Panzer to see if I missed anyone. All right, great. Well, thank you, and thank you to all the other arts educators that couldn't be here tonight. The work that you do to bring that event to life is just truly remarkable, and we are so grateful for the time and energy that you invest into our students to create that passion and love for arts education. Thank you. We also, as you could tell, take over many city blocks in Old Town Peoria, and we could not do that without the incredible partnership that we have with the city of Peoria. We're very grateful for them and a partnership that has spanned many, many years. This evening, we are joined by Director of Arts, Culture, and Library Services from the city of Peoria, and our friend Mary Lou Stevens. I would like to invite her up to share a little bit about this partnership.
Thank you so much, Danielle, and thank you, President Sandoval and the rest of the entire Peoria Unified School District Board. It's an honor to be here this evening. Most importantly, I want to thank these incredible educators for the hard work and dedication they do every single day in the classroom. What appears on the streets of Peoria on this festival day is nothing short of extraordinary, and it is truly our honor and our humble pleasure to be partners with this school district for this event that brings all of these students and families together in a day celebrating art. And it says something about this city and this school district when you put such a priority on the arts. And I will tell you, we are in the process of hiring many new employees for the city of Peoria, and the number one thing that we're looking for in these interviews are people who can be creative and be very strategic in their problem solving, and that is what you learn with an arts education. So thank you for supporting this event. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mary Lou, to you and the team that invests so much in this event. We're very, very thankful. Well, hopefully you got a chance to also see some of the student artwork on display. Let's not forget, the event really comes to life thanks to the students that participate, and so we're very proud of all the work that they contributed to that event. I'd like to introduce one additional recognition this evening, and you saw we had a packed lobby listening to the sounds from the District Honor Band. Many of the guests that were here tonight, we are celebrating that contribute many hours as volunteers in our school district. Volunteers really are the backbone of the work that we do. They help to support our principals, our teachers, so that they can do what they do best in supporting our students. We have many volunteers that have joined us tonight, many that couldn't be here, but I know I did see a number of principals as well, and I know they do some special things to recognize the volunteers on their school, at their school. Quick fun fact, during this school year, across our 42 schools, we had just over 4,000 volunteers. They come into our schools and they do everything from support us as parent field trip chaperones, they assist in the library, help in the office, read in classrooms, math and reading tutors that support our teachers, technology experts, and so much more. Their skills are so valuable, and we are so grateful for many of them giving their time to be there and to invest into our schools. I want to take a moment to thank and recognize any volunteer coordinators who may have joined us tonight. If you're a volunteer coordinator at your school, and I'm not sure if any of them are here, could you stand so we can recognize you? Any volunteer coordinators? Well, let's give them a round of applause anyway. Their work is very important at their school. I want to also give a big thank you to Paige Buckler. She is our district's lead volunteer coordinator. She works on our human resources team to make sure those volunteers are prepared before they go into our schools. So thank you to Paige. And I want to take this opportunity to recognize our top parent volunteers. I think we had many of them here with us tonight. Hopefully you found a seat, and if not, maybe you're crowded in the back or out in the lobby joining us. But if you are a parent volunteer, would you stand or wave so we can give you a huge round of applause? I think it's really important to note that these volunteers have demonstrated care not only for their children, but for the other students that are in our schools and support many of the students that are not just their own. So we thank you so much for the efforts that you give on each of our school campuses to support them. I'd like to also recognize a group of volunteers who are community members that may not have a child in our school or maybe a grandchild in our school, but just give up their time to come to our schools, maybe as a second act, and do what they can to support our schools. If you are a community volunteer and have joined us tonight, would you stand so we can celebrate you? Or step forward? Yes. And I want to note that these volunteers are here tonight. They were selected by their principal as a leading volunteer to come forward for this special recognition. So thank you so much to all of you. I think it's just worth noting, if you're sitting in the audience or joining our stream and you'd like to volunteer in our schools, we'd love to have you. I know we have some volunteers here who would be happy to talk with you about their experience, but certainly you can visit our website to learn more about volunteering and the incredible impact that you can make in our schools. So thank you to all of our volunteers. President Sandoval, if I may, I just have two more quick recognitions to mention. First, you may have noticed that we have a special guest joining us from our cabinet team over here. It's Ava Wells, and she's the student body president from Centennial High School. Probably like, I thought you weren't going to introduce me again, but she is just a remarkable student, and as you know, we're trying to incorporate additional student voice into all that we do, and having her as a part of our Superintendent Student Advisory Council has just been invaluable, and we're glad to welcome her here tonight. And finally, if I could, President Sandoval, I just want to make a quick mention for our guests and those that may be joining us that we were recently had a few of those across our district that were nominated for a very special award through School Connect. Marshall Ranch Elementary School is a finalist for an award, and we'll find out on April 28th if they are a winner, as well as one of our wonderful teachers from Sunrise Mountain High School, Tristan Palmer. And then I also want to mention that our very own superintendent, Dr. Reynolds, has been nominated as a Superintendent Changemaker finalist, and so we're also pulling for him in that category. So congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Ari. Like you stated, a lot of great things going on. And again, Ms. Stevens, the partnership that we do have with the city of Peoria is invaluable. So thank you for that. That said, and before we get into board comments, all of the volunteers and all those individuals who are just recognized, if you want to stay, you're more than welcome. But if you would like to go and celebrate this evening with your families over dinner, this is a good time to go ahead and exit the boardroom. I'll pause for a second. Thank you again, and congratulations. Dr. Davidson. Good. All right, moving along through the agenda. We are now on section 6, still on section 6, sorry. Recognitions. Moving down to 6.2, board comments. Dr. Sorensen.
No, sir.
Mrs. Rooks.
I will keep my eyes always on the Lord, with him at my right hand, and will not be shaken. Psalm 16:3. I wanted to thank the CCV church volunteers we had at Zuni Hills They helped kind of clean up the landscape at the school. So I wanted to say thank you to those volunteers to try to help. I also wanted to thank the staff and parents with the state testing this past week. I know that there was a lot going on, and I appreciate their help in working to make sure that the students are okay with the testing this week. I want to thank the principal, Miss Bennett, at Vistancia Elementary. I know that she worked really hard to make sure that there were safety measures on the campuses with cameras, locked doors, and I really want to encourage that we evaluate that for each school, what type of grants are out there to try to help make sure that the schools are protected. I also did some research a lot this week in regards to the Arizona School Safety Grant, and I want the community to know that I want it to be transparent, and I hope that we, as a district, will be transparent in what positions were considered, and I want to thank the mayor of Peoria, Jason Beck, for offering SROs into the schools. I know that was recently said at a meeting that he had. I also want to, with the research into the Arizona School Safety Grant, I have a lot of concerns that I think need to be addressed, especially with classroom site funds being used to fund the social workers in the district on top of the grant. I think that we really need to consider, because we have teachers that are wanting to leave because of the pay in this district. So that's just been on my mind in the
Ms. Rooks,
research.
just very quickly, I know that's an item that we have scheduled for a future governing board meeting. So I just want to reiterate the importance of staying within our open meeting law governance. So.
Okay, and
I know that's an item that's not on our agenda this evening.
okay.
So.
Okay. I mean, I just was researching it, so that's why
Yeah, I don't disagree with what you're saying, right? But from an open meeting law perspective, we just need to stay true to the agenda as it sits.
Okay, and just in regards to researching what I was talking about,
In regards
or
to the school safety grant, which was mentioned a few times. So again, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but it's not on the agenda. I know it's coming up on a future governing board agenda. So we just need to stay true, again, to what is on the agenda. So we don't go against open meeting law protocol.
okay. Guess I'll finish with my board comments then.
Thank you, Mrs. Rooks. Mrs. Ewing?
Thank you. I just wanted to say I've been out to a bunch of schools since our last meeting. I wanted to thank the principals at the principal at Peoria Traditional School, Cotton Bowl, Apache, Oakwood, Santa Fe, Vistancia Elementary, Lake Pleasant, Paseo Verde, Desert Valley, Sundance, Sun Valley, and Country Meadows. So thank you for taking time to show me around your schools, to talk to me about all the great things that are happening at your schools, and to take time out also while testing was going on as well. And I appreciate that they also walked me around on and showed me different projects that the district is working on with regards to their buildings. And then also had some great conversations, shown a lot of data about how we're working to bring our student achievement up and fill in those gaps, and I appreciated all of that. I also wanted to say thank you. There was a family literacy night that was at Alta Loma, and that was a really great event, teaching our students and our families about finance and budgeting and all of that. So that was a really great event. And then our Vice Mayor, Danette Dunn, was there. That was really great to meet her. And I don't think there, yeah. And then at the Friends of Public Library, they had a big, huge event. They invited in a bunch of community members. A lot of our representatives from our Title I schools were there because we partner with them on a lot of things. And City Council member John Edwards was there, so I appreciate his efforts that he does to partner with our school, as along with Jennifer Crawford, City Council member. So I really appreciate all the partnerships that we have within our community. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ewing. Yeah, I just have a few items. You know, we talked earlier about, you know, our arts education programs and really all the programs that we have as a district, which are invaluable to our students. And I can't think of a better way for them to really kind of realize, you know, what moves them or what inspires them. So all those opportunities are fantastic. So I was part of the Met mock interviews, and you know, going through that process with some of our high school students, listen to how they speak and their confidence. I've always said it. I believe Dr. Sorensen said it before as well. It just our future is bright with our youth in it, without question. Parkridge Elementary had an event last week which had a big focus on really celebrating students in this particular time. It was grades 1 through 4, and displaying human kindness, you know, and they were being recognized for that. So I do appreciate Parkridge, for not only educating our students and challenging them in the classroom, but also really developing the character of our society. So thank you, Parkridge Elementary. Altaloma, Ms. Ewing talked about the financial literacy night last night. That was great. Today I had the opportunity to attend the Liberty High School, who hosted the district track meets, where all of our high schools were involved. So just seeing the talented athletes that are out there and thriving and doing great things. And I got to sit in the press box, and that whole PSBM program there at Liberty is just amazing. So it's how all these events, the cultural events, the track meets, everything that goes on, and how really it transcends those activities. And it's how we as a district continue to not only really nurture the creativity of our students, but connect the community to what the district does, you know, through our PSBM program. So thank you to everybody, you know, for continuing to do what you do to just lift up our youth. So appreciate that. So that said, I am done. 6.3, Superintendent comments.
Thank you,
Dr. Reynolds.
President Sandoval, Governing Board, Cabinet, and guests. I would like to echo some of the comments shared earlier this evening for our volunteers and share that I just can't say enough about how much we rely on all of you to help us accomplish our mission of helping every student every day be prepared to shape tomorrow. So thank you to all of our volunteers for their time, their service to our students, our staff, and our schools. Last month, the Cactus High School robotics team, the Cactus Commanders, were the Arizona West Region Champions and took home the Engineering Inspiration Award. They also took home the Sustainability Award at the Hunami Port Regional Competition. Later this month, the Cobra Commanders are headed to the first World Championships in Texas. Congratulations to Cactus High School Robotics for all of their achievements. We can't wait to see what they accomplish next. In arts news, Dylan Fisher, a senior from Centennial High School, submitted his state art seal application for photography and has been chosen to be on display at the Peoria Public Library through April 21st. We congratulate Dylan on this demonstration of fortitude in pursuing his dreams and pushing himself towards his craft. This year, we had 6 musicians from the Peoria Unified School District representing us at the All-State Band, Orchestra, and Choir Ensembles. From Liberty High School, we had Anthony Hernandez for alto saxophone. We had tenor vocalist Turner Oliver and Andrew Polakov. And from Peoria High School, Tanner Romero for trumpet. From Sunrise Mountain High School, vocalist Sam Johns and Jugan Choi for viola. Congratulations to these talented young musicians. We are so proud to be represented by all of you at the state level. We also have a major athletic accomplishment by a student from Copperwood Elementary, Cyrus Kowal, who has been scouted to be one of the 18 athletes selected from the U.S. to train and compete with our nation's top soccer coaches for the Soccer Club ID2 International Tour. He is currently in England training and competing alongside top coaches and athletes from around the world, and we're really proud of Cyrus, and we hope the best for him at the international tour and beyond. And last but certainly not least, our district lead nurse, Lisa Alexander, has been appointed to the role of President of School Nurses Organization of Arizona. She will transition from Vice President to President this summer, and we couldn't, again, be more proud of her in her new role. So congratulations to Ms. Alexander, and thank you for representing Peoria Unified as President of the SNOA. And that concludes my comments for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. All right, moving on to Section 7, public comment. Request to address the governing board regarding matters not included on the agenda. Again, as always, we'll spend 30 minutes on this particular line item, 3 minutes per individual at the podium. And as a matter of really housekeeping, public rules of conduct, the board president shall keep control of the meeting and require the speakers and the audience to refrain from abusive or profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, applause, protests, or other conduct which disrupts or interferes with the orderly conduct of the business of the meeting. Personal attacks on board members, staff, or members of the public are not allowed. It is inappropriate to utilize a public hearing, the public comment segment, or any other agenda items for the purpose of making political speeches. Engaging in such conduct and failing to cease such conduct upon request of the presiding officer will be grounds for ending a speaker's time at the podium or for the removal of any disruptive person from the meeting room at the direction of the board president. That said, we welcome everybody's voices. This first public comment comes from Olivia Frey. Welcome, Ms. Frey.
Hello. Good evening, members of the board. I came here to speak because I care about my district. And I care about the students and the parents, and I want everyone to feel comfortable and have a safe place. How people were behaving at the last board was pretty inappropriate, and I think it just needs to get better. We are not setting good examples for the students. It was incredibly immature, and I'm a freshman in high school. I know how kids should be behaving, and I understand how adults should be behaving. And the last meeting was just not setting a good model for our students. It was incredibly inappropriate, and especially with people storming out and yelling, and people making remarks every time they hear something that they don't agree with. It is just not right. People should have their own time to speak, and people should listen. In my classrooms, we have rules. Of course, there's basically many of the same rules here, like no profanity, no calling people out, no being disrespectful, a lot of the same things. And when we don't follow those rules, we get talked to, we get in trouble, or sometimes our parents get called. We do it multiple times. We should be handling parents. If they're breaking the rules, they need to be told to stop. You can't just keep letting them do this over and over again, because then it becomes a constant because they think it's okay. My parents raised me that if you do something wrong, you get told that it's wrong, and you get a punishment if you keep doing it over and over again. And then you get taught, you get disciplined, so you know not to do it. We need to show them not to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Frey. Next public comment comes from Isabella Mall.
Hello, President Sandoval, members of the school board, and Dr. Reynolds. I am Isabella Mall, and this is Mackenzie Garish and Victoria Alvarez. And we are 8th grade students at Sunset Heights Elementary. Recently, a fellow classmate of ours got hit by a car while crossing the Deer Valley and 98th Avenue intersection. 2 weeks later, he passed away. Along with this, many other incidents have occurred on this road, such as car crashes and other high school students getting hit. We have gotten signatures from everyone in 8th grade and majority of 7th grade at our school. We believe that with the Deer Valley Street being in between two schools, some safety precautions need to be enforced. We are hopeful that after we're done, the school board could discuss with the city council on how to make this road safer. We already have some ideas, including stationing a crossing guard there, a school zone like at Arrowhead Elementary, flashing lights alerting cars someone is walking, and a brightly painted crosswalk. If the crosswalk were to be painted, we would want something on it to be dedicated to River Jace Argame, the student who passed away. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Next public comment comes from Micah Dyer. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, board. My name is Micah Dyer, as you said. I'm a junior at Ironwood High School. And I've been attending these meetings for a little bit. I've been watching for years. I've been attending these meetings for years. And I've watched and I've listened to this body. And I've gone back to Ironwood because I think it's crucial that students are civically engaged. And I've gone back and I've informed those students that the Peoria Unified School District, there's a lot of hateful rhetoric that is spoken within these four walls. And tonight I want to speak to you about the anti-transgender rhetoric that has been circulating in our district and the proposed policy that would restrict transgender students from using the restroom that aligns with their gender identity. As a member of this district, I want to make it clear that trans people exist and that they're one of the most vulnerable populations in our school district. The hateful rhetoric and proposed policies are not only discriminatory but also harmful to their mental and emotional well-being, and transgender students are part of our community and they deserve to be treated with respect and dignity. And I would like to respectfully ask that the transphobic rhetoric to end for the sake of all Peoria students and staff, because honestly, a lot of students are tired of hearing it. They just want to go to school. And instead, let's focus on the real issues at hand. I talk to students almost and staff every single day. I'm very involved within our school. And we want to focus on the real issues at hand: student participation and participatory budgeting, high teacher quality, wraparound supports, positive discipline practices, and community engagement. As students, we're not worried about trans students using the bathrooms. We're really not. We're concerned about AP and dual enrollment costs, the low number of counselors and social workers in our schools, and the lack of access to electives and magnet programs. These are the issues that directly impact our education and future success, not trans students in bathrooms. It's time for the board and parents to put their hateful rhetoric aside and focus on what really matters: the well-being and success of all students. And we need to come together as a community to create an inclusive and supportive environment for every single student, regardless of their gender identity. And I urge you to reject any policy that discriminates against transgender students and instead work towards creating an environment that fosters respect, empathy, and understanding. And we need to create a safe and welcoming space for every single student, and that starts with ending the hate and focusing on what really matters. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Dyer. Next public comment comes from Bethany, I believe, Flares. Is that correct? Is it F-L-A-R-E-S? Hopefully I have that right. Did I pronounce your last name correctly? Or?
Flores.
Flores.
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize. It looked
Oh,
like an A.
And then it looks like an I too sometimes. That's okay. Okay.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you. It's actually the first time. I recently found my voice in the last couple of years, so it's pretty neat. Anyway, so I understand both sides. However, I do worry about the safety of children. And, you know, and I know I don't understand transgender identity, but I do worry about the safety of children in the bathrooms. So that's, I think, the bottom line. This is from a psychological perspective. And humans, some of them, can take advantage of situations. And I think to avoid possible hurt to children, because I'm 36, I have a little girl, but children are children until they are 18, as far as I'm concerned. So it is up to us to protect children until they are at the age of 18, and that would include protecting them even when they are in the restrooms. So, and I guess my point to that one is, too, in case I'm not clear enough, I want to avoid any sexual assault, rape, any type of situations that could possibly happen. I'm not saying everyone's going to do it, but to protect all children, and that's the bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flores. Next public comment comes from Leanne Roberts.
I wasn't sure I'd get a chance to speak. Good evening, Dr. Reynolds, President Sandoval, board members, cabinet, and guests. My name is Leanne Roberts, and I am a proud parent of an eCampus senior and a 2010 Cactus graduate. In fact, Dr. Sorensen had him in human physiology at his junior or senior year. I started my journey in PUSD in 2001, and as a parent volunteer at Pioneer Elementary School, I became a PTO board member in 2009, and I was on the Peoria Unified Parent Council when Kathy Connect was a board member up here. Sadly, I had to give up that position when I became a district employee. Kind of good too. I started working at Pioneer in 2013 as an instructional assistant in Title I, and I moved to the Self-Contained Succeed program in 2014. I put myself through college, and I became a teacher in 2019. Best day of my life. And I continue to teach in the Succeed Specialized program at Pioneer. I have watched these board meetings for 6 years. I have not been to one, though. And I have never been so appalled by the actions of governing board members as I was at the March 9th meeting. I cannot believe that public comment speakers were allowed to denigrate and vilify employees of this district who were not here to protect themselves or defend themselves. And then for members of this board to ask for those employees to be removed from the list for contracts is deplorable. And moreover, to have the same individuals make a voting decision based on the negative comments and email communication that a disgruntled parent brought to the board, egregious. Who is going to stop anyone else? What is going to stop anyone else from coming here and besmirching employees who are not here to defend themselves? It is your responsibility as a board to be the voice for all stakeholders here, all of them, and to make decisions for all stakeholders in this district. Some of you are not doing your job. What happened at the last board meeting was bullying, plain and simple. We do not allow it in our classrooms. As teachers, we do not let bullying happen. People in this room were a party to it, and no one on the board put a stop to it. And that's very disheartening.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Next public comment comes from, just says Mia. There's no last name. Welcome.
Hi. So there are a few reasons why I'm speaking today. The first reason is because of a conversation I had with the superintendent a little over a month ago on February 23rd. We were trying to get the executive session meeting public, talking about Title IX. Dr. Reynolds, I spoke to you right after that session ended, and just before the regular board meeting started. I specifically asked you, did you know that the parents wanted to get that executive session meeting public? And you danced around the answer. You essentially said you didn't know, or you misunderstood, or you thought something else. These were the answers that you gave me and another parent that were standing there talking to you. So I find it interesting when I saw an email from the week prior on Friday, February 17th, that was sent to you, President Sandoval, and Dr. Carter Davidson from Kim Contra. That reads, "Thank you, David. The message," referring to the flyer that was going around, "is inaccurate at best, in that the board can vote not to go into executive session and have the conversation in public. If the board votes not to go into executive session, then there is no conversation, since it is not agendized as such. I verified this with legal counsel yesterday to be certain that there wasn't something I did not understand. I am sure you already know this as well. Therefore, you lied to me. You did know, but I guess you decided solely that it was not in your best interest. So you knew that the agenda needed to be agendized in order to go public, but chose not to say anything to any other board members or anybody else involved. That also goes for you, President Sandoval. You knew the same information. The other thing that, oh shoot, I don't have time, hold on. Okay, basically you used an example of, if I were to sue the person next to me, I wouldn't want them to have the same information that the lawyers would tell me. And you use that example for that meeting, and that was very striking because it tells me you have an us, the parents, versus them mentality, which is you, the district, and that's not right. It shouldn't be like that. Just real quick, you need to put the policy to vote on the bathroom policy. Boys use the boys' bathroom, girls use the girls' bathroom. Chaos and confusion is not good for anything. Rules and order is what's needed, especially for schools, just like in society. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. Next public comment comes from Teddy Todd. Welcome.
Thank you. And I'm going to start with thank you. Thank you, board members, for all that you try to do, and think that you're going in the future to do. You have a tough job, a really tough job. I have met with some of you personally and with some of the staff also. I have been in some of your shoes, not all of them. And I also want to say a thank you to all of you who are here expressing your opinions and your desires and your wishes for our children, who will be the next leaders. And especially since I am old, okay, I've gotten a little wiser. Just to give you a short background, I've been an administrator for 35 years. I was a farmer. We had beef cattle. My husband of 55 years, he has passed on. Cancer's not a good thing. 3 children, 3 grandchildren. We had lots of animals, of course. 3 degrees, family and consumer science. Family's very important. Vocational education curriculum, extremely important, especially in today's economic times. Really important. Where can our children go? How can they get there? Where are they going to get their basic education? And our public education is the biggest for our children to learn the basics to go on. And we have been blessed in this Peoria district with the tech schools. I have visited them. I have been touring with them with the superintendent. Wow. So I'm coming down now to some 5 big points I would like to see. I'm one of those volunteers that was here earlier. I've been volunteering every Tuesday and Thursday in Vistancia Elementary, but I also go down to Goodyear and I volunteer at a charter school, which was Odyssey Academy, and also in another elementary that is West Valley Christian Elementary School. I wanted to get a picture of what this was, because you see, I'm from Ohio, and I am here to learn and to support. And yes, I have a granddaughter at Liberty. We came in about 3 years ago. So I've learned a lot and observing, and I taught special ed at Deer Valley, at West Wing. And I have been a substitute teacher all over Phoenix
Ms. Todd.
in those years. And my time's about up. I'm going to give you the first 5 and do it really quick. Can I say those? Should I just quit then?
How quickly?
Or should I say the first 5?
How quickly can you go through those 5?
Let me
Go
give
ahead.
you my
All right.
5, because this is
why don't-
important. I have watched, I have listened, and I have worked with the teachers and principals. Here we go. I always knew I talked too much. I did in school, too. Okay, increasing that teacher pay.
We can,
It's got to be critical. We need guidance counselors at the upper elementary. Absolutely. We don't need a lot more social workers. We need the safety people. We need the SROs desperately. And that's stupid. Bathroom policy. Boys have got to use boys' bathrooms and girls use girls' bathrooms. And for heaven's sakes, every child needs privacy. They need privacy and they need safety. Every child. Give them a place to go.
President Sandoval.
Thank you, Ms. Todd.
I will say
appreciate it.
goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next public comment comes from Elijah Watson. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I would hope, well, actually, I'll just start with this. I really hope that I can speak on the behalf of every parent, every faculty member, and frankly, every board member behind the dais when I say that no student in this district should be discriminated against in any way, shape, or form, right? At the end of the day, we all want for these students in this district to receive the best education possible. But I do think it's really important to remember that when we allow for prejudice to become present in the classroom, the quote-unquote best education possible is no longer a possibility. Sadly, it's become very clear just based from the last meeting and this meeting as well that this isn't something that everyone agrees with, that every student should have access to the best education possible. Because some members of this board and the community have been advocating for and promoting policies that are fundamentally discriminatory against transgender and gender nonconforming individuals. Now, I won't go into the statistics about the absurdly high suicide rates of LGBTQ+ youth or the fact that these policies are blatantly unconstitutional, because I know that the board has heard this again and again. But instead, I'll simply say this. We should all want for every single student who graduates from this district to feel like they can set their life to succeed in anything that they do. But implementing policies that are focused on making the classroom more uncomfortable for students that are statistically some of the most vulnerable in the country and in this district, that doesn't set them up for success. It doesn't set them up to feel that they can do anything they set their mind to. It sets them up for failure, and it sets them up to feel shame. And I can be one of the first to attest that no student should feel shame for simply wanting to be who they are. Do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. Next public comment comes from Jeannie Castine.
Good evening. Glad to see the adults listening to the children about bullying and behavior. Good evening. My name is Jeannie Castine. Part of my job includes research of child sexual abuse, CSA. I hear a lot of attempts to connect CSA with trans people, but it couldn't be further from the truth. And in fact, trans women suffer some of the highest sexual abuse in the United States. So I want to share some US stats. This is just from this past month, where there were over 100 legal cases of CSA, and not one of the perpetrators was trans. As a matter of fact, in the United States, 93% of child sexual abuse perpetrators consider themselves religious. And most predators charged or convicted last month are religious leaders, not trans people. This week, the courts upheld an Arizona law that exempts clergy from reporting CSA. So not only is the reading of scripture at school board meetings a violation of the Establishment Clause, but it very well may be damaging to audience members and constituents who have experienced religious traumatic abuse. Another bill in AZ this year would have mandated that private religious school staff obtain fingerprint clearance cards like public school staff, but it didn't even get a hearing. Every anti-trans bill did, though. Just yesterday, Missouri Senator Mike Moon, who claims to be a Christian, said he thinks that 12-year-old children should be married off by their parents. There seems to be a pattern here. And I heard the speaker say, humans take advantage of certain situations. They certainly do. I see a pattern. Evangelical electeds target the LGBT community? Check. Religious leaders exempt from reporting child sexual abuse? Check. No staff background checks in religious schools? Check. Child marriage? Guess it's A-OK. Check. Violating constitutional oath and quoting scripture that requires unquestioning obedience to an abusive male god? Check. There is a trend, it's my turn.
Ladies and
my
gentlemen,
turn.
please.
There is a trend of scapegoating trans students to distract people from actual abusers. Trans people are far more likely to be victims of sexual abuse. Now that Arizona is using my tax dollars to fund religious discrimination and indoctrination centers that protect actual groomers, parents can go there. I'm not saying that Peoria shouldn't hire Christians as employees, thankfully, because you do have to be fingerprinted in this district. I just hope that the scapegoating of our most vulnerable student population will stop, because our public schools are for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Castaigne. Next public comment comes from Ms. Jennifer Harmon. I'm sorry? Yeah, let me find a green slip for yourself, Ms. Webb. Okay. Welcome.
Good evening, Dr. Reynolds, board members, members of the community, and my amazing peers. My name is Holly Webb, and I'm here tonight to let the truth prevail with hopes of protecting my fellow teachers from this unfair treatment in the future and clearing my name. I would like to address the blatant lies about me being circulated through social media and here at a previous board meeting. In the fall, I was at Liberty High School teaching an elective science class called Human Physiology, which is typically chosen by juniors and seniors who are heading in the direction of human and veterinary medicine. Human physiology studies each individual body system macroscopically and microscopically, as well as its functions. During the first lesson on the human reproductive system, one of the students was on her phone, so she was given a verbal warning. However, she continued to text her mom, allegedly saying she was uncomfortable in my class. Since texting and being on the phone during class is against district, school, and classroom policy, it seems that this student was distracted and therefore was not able to fully comprehend the material I was teaching, nor did she properly convey to her mother what actually occurred within the class. Students were interested and engaged, and therefore they were asking questions. I attempted to answer as direct as possible by using real-life examples and current research, but advising them to do further independent research if they wanted more information. I do not like to hear that any student is uncomfortable in my class. However, this content in the human physiology curriculum and the student and her mother both signed the syllabus acknowledgement form at the beginning of the semester, showing understanding and agreement to learning about all the human body systems. The only truth that has been shared with all of you is that I did refer to dolphins as a real-life example, but the illustration that has been posted on social media of the dolphins with the street signs was created by the group that posted the slander and has been defaming my character the last 5 months. The slide that the mom was so emotional about last board meeting was a medical diagram directly taken from the district's approved textbook, which was labeled with the proper anatomical terms. None of the other vulgar things that she accused me of saying or doing even ever happened. A full investigation was completed by Human Resources, and I have been assured that not even one other student corroborated these claims. Moving to a different school wasn't an attempt to take the high road and not involve Liberty and its amazing students and staff in this craziness and lies that were going around regarding this incident. Let me be clear, that is not an admission of guilt, as the slanderous group is saying. As a teacher of PUSD, I'm required to follow the curriculum that is linked to the standards. I did not choose to teach the reproductive system to teenagers, but rather I was told to and given the materials to do so. I ask the board, Human Resources, my cohorts, and the community to support teachers when they teach the content they are told to teach, even if one parent is unhappy. I ask you to allow the truth to prevail rather than entertain and encourage more slander, threats, and defamation. This has been truly life-changing. Protect your teachers, support the truth. And since I am actually allowed to quote scripture, since I am not a board member, I'll leave you with this. The righteous hate what is false, but the wicked make themselves a stench and bring shame on themselves. For justice will prevail, and all the morally upright will be vindicated.
Next public comment comes from Miss Alexis Yance.
President Sandoval, just want to make sure you're keeping an eye on the time.
Yep, we've got time for a couple more after this. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to just start off by introducing myself. I am Alexis Yance. I am a junior at Liberty High School this year. I would like to address something that the board has had concern about, and they have addressed before, but it just remains unaddressed, and it is a reoccurring problem. I have some facts here. In the United States, roughly around 290,000 students get physically or sexually abused in public schools. Gender defined is as a person deeply felt, masculine or feminine. Biological sex is the way that you were born. Ages 12 through 34 is the highest risk of being sexually assaulted or raped. Incidents that have occurred. Loudoun County, Northern Virginia, which was just the county right next to me when I lived there, a 9th grade female was sexually assaulted by a gender-fluid male that was allowed in the women's bathroom. Not only was this the first time this has happened, but it happened by the same male twice at the same high school by 2 girls. Later, he was convicted and sentenced 10 days in jail. Women's feelings. After talking to multiple girls that attend Liberty High School, I've come to the conclusion that almost all of these girls feel uncomfortable with a transgender that is biological sex is a male in the women's restroom. With men and women's when men and women's bathroom and locker room, we feel unsafe and our privacy is being invaded. No girl should have to go to school in fear about using the bathroom or the locker room. What can we do about this situation? With all support to the LGBTQ plus community, I believe that there are more safer and comfortable ways that we can go about this situation. Number 1, all gender bathrooms. Number 2, bathrooms assigned for trans women and men. And number 3, if there's no possible way that we can make these new bathrooms, then I say use the faculty bathrooms. Open it up to those people. Put yourself in this position. If you guys have kids, say you have a daughter, around freshmen. Let's say she's in PE class, she needs to dress out. Imagine let's say, trans men watching your daughter change. I don't know if you guys would feel okay with your daughter stripping down and a guy watching her. Your daughter's privacy would be invaded, and she will forever be scarred, and she would remember that. Us high school girls should not be in fear to use the restroom or change in the locker room. I'm here today to speak out for these girls that are uncomfortable and in fear. This is not right, and we do need a change now. Thank you, guys.
Ms. Yance. Next public comment comes from Mr. Frank Eager. Ladies and gentlemen, We just have a couple more. Mr. Frank Eager, next comment. Frank Eager. Frank, last name Eager. Frank Eager.
President Sandoval, board members, cabinet. I come today as a teacher here in this district. For the past couple years, it has been really hard to be a teacher in this district. Things come up, mistakes happen, whatever you want to talk about. I know HR does an amazing job looking into things, investigating things. Then it becomes public knowledge. Names are put out there in social media. People get death threats, rocks thrown at their house for disagreeing in what you believe, whatever else like that. We got to remember, we have policies and procedures that are put in place for a reason, and they need to be upheld. You may not like them, but I don't go around them trying to drum up people to be upset at a matter or a situation. I try to work within the system to try to make things better. And I'm sure today, me speaking, my name will be lambasted everywhere, and I'm sure I'll be called out and add to my list of my names, and I'll get some wonderful emails from some great people, I'm sure of it. I've dedicated myself to this district for 26 years. I've given my heart and soul to this district. I care about all the kids who show up to my room and do the best I can for them. Every single day. That is one thing I do from the bottom of my heart. I come from a family of educators. I'm a third-generation Arizonan. I went to Foothills Elementary School. I graduated from Cactus High School. I'm very proud to say I'm a worker for Peoria. But I talk to lots of new teachers who ask them to come work here. They're like, oh, I don't think I want to do that. Because they're scared for how they are treated. And I'm not talking about anything that deals with bathrooms, anything like that at this moment right now. It's just people who are trying to do their job on a daily basis. And I really hope the community, the board, takes that in very much consideration. Because I know for one thing, you can't pay us more. I know. I know what our budget looks like. I know where the money comes from. But respecting us and being there for us is what we really need from our community more than anything else. Sitting down at the table, trying to work things out is a good place to start. Not drumming people up on social media to get everybody going is not where we want to go. I really hope things change. And all I can say is, the reason why I show up to work every day is the people I work with. The people who drive their kids to school, the people who are there to make sure they have a hot lunch, people make sure they're okay. And I, as a teacher, do the best I can with the kids I have every single day. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Eager. All right, we have time for one final public comment, and that comes from Tatum Tyre. Tigger? Is it Tyre? Sorry. I apologize.
President Sandoval, members of the board, I'm Tatum Tigner, and I am a 2019 Liberty graduate and the daughter of a Peoria educator. Do you know what it's like to be different? For it to feel like the world looks at you with a certain oppose? I do. I came out as a lesbian during my sophomore year of high school at Liberty. Realistically, anyone could have used a similar argument to keep me out of the locker room or the bathrooms. I ran cross country and helped out with girls basketball, but they didn't. My community rallied around me. I had no shortage of support, and I was even nominated for prom queen. But do you know what happens when that is not the case? 48% of LGBTQ students attempt suicide without support from their community. Those of you in my opposition are driving children to suicide. The violence and peeping that many of you may claim will happen if we allow trans-identifying individuals in the bathrooms of choice simply does not occur. I've done my research. The anti-trans rhetoric needs to end. All this is to say the future is continuing to move forward. Let's move with it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes this evening's call to the public. We will now move to Let's see here. We do have some items that we pulled from consent, right, Ms. Contra?
Yes, President Sandoval, it was just one, which was the Human
8.2.
Resources Report.
Yep. Tell you what, let me refresh my screen real quick. Just give me a sec. Okay. Now 9.1, Human Resources Reports. So as always, we'll listen to, well, in this case, especially I know you're here, we'll listen to public comment and answer any questions that we may be able to at that point. This public comment comes from Ms. Vanessa Aslin Belair. Welcome.
Thank you. Superintendent, Governing Board, Cabinet members. First, I want to thank HR Department for all of the work that they did on these items. I know that they've done their due diligence and that every teacher on these lists for stipends, change in placements, or other items being brought forth are eligible for them. I know, HR, that you guys would never do anything to violate any laws regarding any of this. I strongly encourage the board to unanimously look at this in a positive way and vote positively for all of those changes on this human resource report. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, any questions or comments on this line item? Dr. Sorensen? No? Mrs. Rooks? Mrs. Ewing? Okay. All right, with that said, I do need a, Mrs. Vesely, anything just from you? You good?
President Sandoval, members of the board, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. All right. That said, I do need a motion to approve 9.1, the Human Resources Report.
I will motion to approve 9.1, the Human Resources Report.
I'll second it. Ms. Contra, we have a motion made by Mrs. Ewing and second by myself. Board members, please cast your votes. Motion passes with 4 yeas and 1 absent. Thank you, board members. All right, moving on to our action items. 10.1, we do have public comment tied to this line item as well. So we'll allow the district and partner to, Ms. West.
Excuse me, President Sandoval, members of the board. Up on the screen, we do not see the reorder, so I just want to make sure that we are on the right agenda item. I believe we asked for 10.3 to move up to 10.1, which would be the appointment of the Director of Learning and Teaching.
You're right.
So I just want to make sure, is there public comment on that?
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
No,
Thank you, sir.
It's not edited on my screen, so I apologize. I did. No. All right, that said,
President
10.1.
Sandoval, I
Yep.
apologize. I'm looking at the screen right now as it is on the control panel, and it does say this is the administrative appointment.
Okay, tell you what, I'm going to refresh again and see if that'll help. You're good? Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Ms. Contra. All right, 10.1, let's see here. We do have public comment tied to the slide item. So, Ms. Vesely, actually, you're good. We'll listen to you first, then we'll go to public comment, and then board questions and comments, okay? Welcome.
Good evening, President Sandoval, members of the board. Tonight, I am bringing forth a recommendation for the Director of Learning and Teaching beginning July 1st, 2023. We would like to recommend that Ms. Sherry Piazza be appointed to the position of Director of Learning and Teaching beginning again the 2023-2024 school year. Ms. Piazza started her career in Peoria back in 2001, and she served as a teacher and a reading interventionist until 2014. She then transitioned into the role of C&I instructional psych coach from 2014 to 2020. Ms. Piazza currently serves Peoria Unified as the professional development coordinator and has done so for the past 3 years. She has a strong foundation in curriculum and instruction, mentoring new teachers, working with site and district administrators to identify those training needs and coordinate services, professional development to all employee groups across our district. She collaborates with site and district administrators to support our district goals and initiatives. She has also supported the implementation of professional learning communities, curricular and instructional resources and practices, and technology integration. She's earned her bachelor's degree in elementary education with a specialization in math from Arizona State University. She's also earned a master's degree in curriculum and instruction from Arizona State University. We are excited to be bringing forth Ms. Sherry Piazza for this position. I'd also like to share that through our interview process, we held multiple rounds of interviews with over 30 stakeholders, including parents, classified staff, teachers, site administrators, district administrators, and overwhelmingly in both rounds of interviews, Ms. Sherry Piazza was the #1 top choice. So at this time, administration is asking for your approval to please approve Ms. Sherry Piazza as the district's new Director of Learning and Teaching, effective July 1st, 2023.
Thank you, Ms. Fesley. As stated, we do have public comment, tied to this line item, so we'll listen to that and we'll go from there. Thank you.
President Sandoval?
Yes, ma'am.
If I might, we reordered the agenda, and I'm wondering if the green slip that was received prior to that, and maybe they want to speak to the original 10.1?
So I did switch the green slips.
Okay.
So I'll call the name, and if they don't come up, then we know that I
got it.
Mixed them up. So this public comment comes from Vanessa Aslan Blair. Is this the line item that you wanted to speak on?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually believe I have.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Superintendent, Governing Board, and Cabinet. First, I want to thank all the stakeholders that went through the selection process. I know that the time and effort and dedication to our students to find the right person drove you to choose this enormously qualified candidate. Therefore, I strongly encourage the board to unanimously approve Ms. Sherry Piazza for Director of Learning. Not doing so would question all the stakeholders and the entire vetting process. Thank you again for all of those stakeholders on the interview and vetting committee. Your work and dedication show the incredible candidate that you are presenting tonight. It is appreciated.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Fesley. Board members, any questions, comments? Dr. Sorensen?
No questions, thank you.
Yep. Mrs. Ricks?
No questions, thank you.
Mrs. Ewing?
No questions.
I don't have any questions at this moment as well, or either, sorry. So at this point, that said, I do need a motion to approve 10.1, the approval of administrative appointment, Director of Learning and Teaching, beginning July 1, 2023.
I will move to approve the appointment of the Administrative Director of Learning and Teaching beginning July 1st, 2023.
I'll second that. Ms. Contra, we have a motion made by Mrs. Ewing and a second made by myself. Board members, please cast your votes. Motion passes with 5 yeas and 1 absent. Congratulations.
President Sandoval, members of the board, it is my pleasure at this time to please bring on up Ms. Sherry Piazza.
Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds, President Sandoval, members of the board. I am beyond appreciative for the opportunity to support this district in this new role and to continue the work that I've done with the amazing team for 9 years. It's wonderful to be moving forward with our continuous improvement and reimagining learning and teaching. And I want to shout out my family, a special thank you for supporting me and allowing me to live my passion, and my son who's there every day to support me. So thank you to my family, thank you to my team, thank you to everybody who's here today. I appreciate you beyond words. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, and congratulations again. Board members, questions, comments? Dr. Sorensen?
Yeah, what a cool moment that was.
So cool.
That was awesome.
It was a memory maker.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Well, congratulations on your promotion. We're very excited to see where learning goes under your leadership and really through that PLC process. So thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen. Mrs. Ricks?
Yeah, congratulations, and I look forward to working with you and, just helping the kids learn in the district. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ricks. Mrs. Ewing?
Congratulations. As I've been out on campuses, I've been talking with the summer coming up, talking a lot about the professional development. And I know I spoke to a lot of folks who were very excited about your appointment. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll echo those comments and say congratulations as well. I mean, there's no doubt this category, if you will, or this seat, it's a heavy lift. We're a large district, and but your institutional knowledge, and it's clear based on the process that the district went through, that not only your acumen as an educator is stellar, but also your ability to lead with others in mind. So thank you for that. And congratulations again.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Have a great evening. All right, moving on to 10.2, Annual Valley Schools Financial Report for fiscal year 2022 and approval of employee health benefits renewal for the 2023-2024 school year. Let's see here. We do have public comment tied to this as well, but Ms. Vesley will allow you to present. Public comment. Board comments, questions. Go ahead.
Good evening, President Sandoval, members of the board. Tonight, we are going to bring forth our annual Valley Schools financial report for fiscal year 2022, and as well as looking at our approval of the employee health and benefits renewal for the 23-24 school year. If we can go to the first PowerPoint, please. Tonight, we also have with us Mr. Tom Elliott. He is the Executive Director of Member Services for Valley Schools Employee Benefit Group. We also have Ms. Laura Felton, who is the Chief Financial Officer for Valley Schools Management Group, and Mrs. Christy Davis, who is our own Benefits and Compensation Manager that will be helping to present this evening. So first, we're going to look at the annual Valley Schools financial report, and we're going to have an overview. We'll talk a little bit about the history of Valley Schools and Peoria Unified School District, Valley Schools Insurance Group, the Workmen's Compensation Pool, the Schools Employee Benefit Group, our Valley Schools Management Group, self-funded insurance considerations, and then we'll go into questions and comments. So a little bit about the history. Valley Schools Insurance Trust was initially formed in 1988 by Peoria Unified School District, Paradise Valley, Deer Valley Unified School District to provide property and liability insurance coverage through a self-insurance model. These same three districts formed the Valley Schools Workers' Compensation Pool in 1995 to provide the mandated insurance coverage. Valley Schools Employee Benefit Trust was formed then in 2005 to provide employee health insurance coverage for employees of participating members. Valley Schools Management Group was formed in 2005 to provide administrative and management services pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute 11952 and 11952.01. Valley Schools Insurance Trust and Valley Schools Employee Benefit Trust, Valley Schools Workers' Compensation Pool, and the Management Group incorporated effective July 1st of 2017 in accordance with Arizona Revised Statutes 29-2203. This conversion was approved by Peoria Unified School District's Governing Board back on June 8th of 2017. With the incorporation, the names were changed to Valley Schools Insurance Group, so VSIG, Valley Schools Workmen's Comp Group, and Valley Schools Employee Benefits Group. Valley Schools groups are separate legal entities from their affiliated school districts. The Valley Schools Management Group does have a board of directors, and it includes 3 of the board member positions filled by chief financial officers from each of the founding school districts. The district's current chief financial officer, Ms. Myers, was appointed by the Peoria Unified School District Governing Board to serve as the director on the board of directors of the Valley Schools Management Group, Valley Schools Employee Benefits Group, the Workmen's Compensation Group, and Valley Schools Insurance Group. And that was effective July 1st, 2018. What I would like to do now is introduce Mr. Tom Elliott and Ms. Laura Feldman, as they're going to take over the presentation looking at the 2022 annual report.
President Sandoval, members of the board, Dr. Reynolds, I'm Tom Elliott, Executive Director of Member Services for Valley Schools. We'll be trading off as to who's going to present which piece of information.
Sounds good. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you for this opportunity to talk about Peoria's participation with the Valley Schools program. So you're going to get to hear myself speak about most of the financial matters. So the contributions, and this is talking about last school year, I do want to point out as we're talking about the numbers and the positions for Peoria. So last year's annual contributions to the Valley Schools Insurance Group, that's the one that provides liability insurance, was $2.6 million. The Workers' Compensation Group provided almost $1.7 million. And the Valley Schools Employees Benefit Group, which is an array of products we'll talk about a little bit more in detail, was about $30.7 million. And by the way, that includes, that's a little different for that one, includes employees' contributions along with the employer contributions. And for all of those groups, your district does maintain a positive net position for that. So thank you.
Oops.
Technical difficulties.
You pressed the wrong one.
I pressed the wrong one. You
Did you move it? There we go. Nope. It's the down arrow. There we go. A little bit about self-funding insurance. This is kind of a very simple explanation of it, but basically the employer retains, is responsible to pay all the claims and the costs. A little technical variation is technically Valley Schools has that responsibility. All of our members, all of the school districts we serve in towns, everything is operated as if it's self-funded, but the technical part is that risk does pass to Valley Schools. But in all other sense, they're self-funded. Control is a big part about it, is the employer can tailor that coverage. How it works simply is the employer retains risk for a certain amount of the expenses, whether it's in the property and liability, workers' comp, or in the employee benefit, in the medical. And then we purchase insurance to cover claims above that risk. In the Valley Schools Insurance Trust, the auto liability is $1.5 million, risk retained, general liability $1.25 million, property $100,000. And again, you have insurance above those amounts. So that's the risk you retain. the claims you could ultimately pay. In the workers' comp, it's $750,000, and on the medical insurance, it's $400,000 for each individual. Again, claims for that individual exceed $400,000, there's insurance that takes care of that. Very good. The Valley Schools Insurance Group is made up of the Peoria, Deer Valley, and Paradise Valley school districts. Provides property and liability insurance coverage, property coverage for losses to vehicles, buildings, equipments, and content. Liability coverage for general, auto, errors, and omissions. Services include safety training, loss prevention, claims management, facility and playground inspections, motor vehicle department record checks, accident and incident investigations, interfacing with law enforcement, and several other areas.
Looking at the financial position for Peoria, for Valley Schools Insurance Group, I do first want to talk about when you're looking at these financial statements right here, this is Peoria School District only. We do separate accountings for each one of our members, and so in this example, you are looking at Peoria only. Another point is just as a reminder, this is back to June 30th of 2022, so we are talking about 9 months ago, so just as a reminder. So when you're looking at this, the revenues for this brought in about $5 million. Just a moment ago, I had mentioned that you had contributions that were about half of that. This is on a cash basis, so this records every single dollar that we spent or brought in during the year. And so what happened during this year is you had made 2 years worth of contributions. There are advantages for doing that for your bond rating, and so we'd like to encourage our members to do that. And so I congratulate you for being able to do that. One of the strange accounting things that we do is we have something called the cost of reinsurance. We actually consider that part of revenue. Yes, it's us crazy accountants, so I do apologize for that. But Mr. Elliott did just discuss that you are insured and that you have policy limits, and so your portion of that was almost $1.8 million. So that is one of the larger items within there. And then obviously when we look at the expenses, the vast majority of the expenses was to pay for claims. So those were automobile accidents, liability claims, storm damage for property, those kinds of things. When we look at those kind of expenses that you had for last year, it's about $1.1 million, with the single largest subcategory being automobile. So you did have a very large automobile claim last year. Within that, though, you will see we do have the other types of expenditures that Mr. Elliott talked about. So that we do training, we do safety, there is administration costs. When you look at all of those expenses, it's about $1.5 million. Being part of Valley Schools, we do invest the funds. And so you can see that what there was operating income, we had investment income about $135,000 last year. We do hold our money in investment. Another one of those strange accounting things we have to do is we have to record the change in the market value. So you do see a large negative value for that, about $690,000. If you can all remember to what the markets were looking like last year, it was not a pretty thing. This is not a realized number. When you earn interest in your bank account, you get to walk away and keep it. Same thing with Valley Schools, you keep that money. This change in market value is if we sold everything on June 30th, which we do not do. We hold our investments to maturity, so we call that unrealized. But we have to record it on our financial statements. So it does look unusual, and it will be offset by interest earnings in coming years. You started the year with about $6.6 million as a net position, and after you had your contributions and expenditures, you did end up with a positive change in net position of $7.8 million. So thank you.
Next, the Workers' Compensation Group is the same membership, the three founders, Peoria, Paradise Valley, and Deer Valley School Districts, with also Glendale Elementary. Very simple. The Workers' Compensation Group provides the state-mandated workers' compensation coverage. It insures employees for injuries by accidents caused by as a result of their employment or conditions of their employment. Services provided include claims administration and management, loss prevention, and safety training.
This is very similar to what we were just looking at with the insurance group. So with workers' compensation, you had contributions of about $3.3 million. Insurance costs within this particular kind of product, being workers' compensation, are much less. So you see that the insurance costs were about $185,000. Again, the largest portion of what we spend within there is paying claims for workers' compensation. So that's for your employees who are injured at work. That was about $1.2 million. And as you can see, we have very similar type of expenditures of training and administrative costs, totaling about $1.5 million last year. We also had interest earnings in that. Again, that's what you keep within your account. It's real money. But we did have a change in market value of about $780,000 there, a negative $780,000. You started the year with about $7.1 million, into the year with about $8.1 million. Thank you.
The Valley Schools Employee Benefits Group, and if I use the term members, that's what we call the entities we serve. So you could change out district for that. It's the same thing. District decides the benefit programs that best meet, their needs as an employer and their employees. One of the strengths of being self-funded, you're not buying something off the shelf from the insurance company. You get to do what you think you need to do for your employees. Valley Schools contracts for insurance and services, and our ability to go out to the marketplace with 32,000 employees and over 46,000 lives makes us to be able to get very favorable terms when we're out there. And that's one of the advantages of being with Valley Schools, especially in this insurance group or the employee benefits group, because it's so large. Members are the district's only, and Ms. Felton talked about it earlier, you only pay for your costs. All the money you put in is an account for the Peoria Unified School District, and any costs, expenses related to that come out of that account. And the board approves your annual benefits and rate changes each year. Valley Schools, we serve about 30 public entities, currently 26 school districts, 4 municipalities. Employee benefits that we provide include medical, dental, life, vision, short-term disability, accident, critical illness, and medical bridge. Services included in our medical fixed fee include stop-loss insurance, rental of UHC's network and their claims administration, COBRA administration, flex spending account administration, compliance training, providing web-based compliance tools, 1095 reporting, employee assistance program, identity theft protection, GASB 74 75 services. The services of Ms. Felton's department, we handle all the bills, we pay all the bills. An investment program, Well Styles program, which is our Valley Schools wellness program, all come with the services you get from Valley Schools. Did it go down? Already did that. Yes, each member determines its own medical plan design, as we talked about. And we're talking about the co-pays, the max out-of-pockets, et cetera. And the nice thing about how we do it at Valley Schools, because I've experienced it differently in a prior life, is we bring the underwriter right into the room with staff. And I like to say, you might not like what you hear as far as the increase, but you know how you got there. And the ability to ask questions and make adjustments. So it's a good system that we use to do that. Again, each district's only responsible for the cost attributed to its employees. Unspent funds at year end remain in the district's, whoops, I'm going to go to you on that.
Are you taking away my excitement? Because it is actually one of the things that I do like. So we've talked about several times that Peoria and each one of our members is responsible for their own expenses. Well, what that means is we do keep a separate accounting. And so the funds that are unspent at the end of the year are solely for the purposes of Peoria's medical costs or any kind of benefits costs that they have for employees. So that's one of the advantages of keeping track of data like we do and the accounting that we do. So that does allow you to utilize those ending net positions for other purposes that are encompassed within benefits programs. As part of that, what we do is we meet with each one of our members and we talk about how they might like to strategize funding. This is not just for the employee benefits group, even though it's actually under this slide. We do this for each one of our groups. So we actually meet with your staff and we talk about the position of the different groups and different kinds of strategies they can use the funding for each year. So it's kind of, we sit down at the table and we discuss that. Thank you. Oh, do you feel like an eye test? All right. So I do apologize, it is small, but let me kind of walk you through. I like that we've looked at the other two groups, so you're kind of familiar with the structure of the format is here. So your contributions, oh my gosh, I can't read it either. I think we're about $40 million, if I remember correctly from prior slides. Oh, thank you very much. $40 million. As a reminder, because we are talking about employee benefits, those are both dollars coming directly from the district for employer expenses as well as employees' elections and premiums that they have had withheld through the payroll process. So when we start looking at those expenditures, the largest line that you have there is paid claims, about $27.6 million. Those are medical claims, so those are running through United Healthcare. All the other line items down there are the different products that your employees can choose from for different kinds of benefit categories. As Mr. Elliott mentioned, there also are things such as the wellness program in there, as well as some administrative fees and taxes that we do have to pay. When we look in total, your expenditures for last year were $32.2 million. And so it's a little different. If you notice, there wasn't that crazy insurance line up above. So that was everything you spent for employee benefits through Valley Schools last year. You did have operating interest of $512,000 and a negative change in market value about $1.9 million. You started the year with about $14.8 million. We do something a little different with the VSEBG. You're going to see a line there that talks about the minimum operating reserve. That is informational only. That's a number that we generate through Valley Schools. It says on June 30th, we paid claims, and that's where you see that $32 million of expenses, but we know there have about 3 months more of claims. So a claim hasn't processed if someone went to the doctor on June 30th. So we do a set aside to let our districts know kind of what that dollar value is, and so that's why you see the adjustment. And so if you allow for all of your claim costs for that year to come through, your ending position would have been about $17.1 million or $17.3 million.
Perfect. Some comparisons among the three districts. For the plan year 2022, year ended June 30th, 2022, the average per member per month cost for the Peoria School District was $487. And you can see we have it for the last 5 years. It's increased every year. A big jump in 21. You had a few tough years. Things have seemed to have come back to normal, knock on wood, caused those jumps. But you can see in comparison, the Paradise Valley and Deer Valley School Districts are a little bit higher, a little over 500 per member per month cost. And all of Valley Schools together, all of our members together, about $489. So you're right at the average for our entire group. Over the last 6 years, Peoria's medical insurance has increased an average of 4.21% per year. In the last 2 years, their medical premiums increased 3.99% in 2022, and for this year, they increased 14.57%. Overall, Valley Schools average increase over the last 6 years, 4.27%. The district's increase for 2024, this upcoming year, was an increase of 4.98%. Self-insurance considerations. It can save money. It's the best way to go as far as financially. Local government, again, maintains its own fund to cover the cost of claims administration and benefits and reinsurance rather than purchasing the commercial insurance. It generates savings from a lot of different ways. It eliminates a profit margin insurance companies have. If you were to purchase fully insurance, they also have taxes that they have to pay that they put into your premium costs. You don't pay those. And also you get to design the benefit plan to what you want, to your specifications. Self-insurance allows more access to detailed information about how benefits are used, and the data can be used to look for opportunities for better managing the plan. Other considerations, a wellness plan, an effective wellness plan can help. You're always going to pay for the cost of the relative health of your employees and the claims costs they incur. Things that can be done to improve that just help drive down costs. Provide cost-effective ways to access care. We're test driving one right now. Probably came about with COVID, but it's a physical therapy virtual. I happen to have a knee issue, and I'm trying it out myself because I was referred to physical therapy. It's really cool. But again, people have to leave and go to the physical therapist, and it really is nice. I hope we do it. We're still evaluating, but those are the kind of things you need to look at. Got to keep track of the industry trends and what's going on and what's driving increasing costs. A program we introduced a couple of years ago, Second MD, served a lot of good purposes. People who are recommended for treatment for something or surgery, Second MD allows them with picking up the phone. I used that one too a year ago. You can pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, I'm having something, my knee replaced, whatever surgery. From there, they'll contact your doctor. They'll have an expert evaluate the recommended treatment and talk with your doctor and give you a second opinion as to what they think. Feedback we've gotten, people have said their doctors like it. I think doctors are a bit overwhelmed, and someone helping them out I don't think bothers them at all. I think it helps provide peace of mind to the individual too, that they get someone else they can talk to separate from the physician who's recommending it. Anyways, we're always looking at different programs to put in. Maintaining appropriate levels of plan reserves is important. Having third parties to help manage this plan, also important considerations.
All right, now we're going to talk about the Valley Schools Management Group. So that was the group, if you remember, that was actually the last group that was formed. We oversee the day-to-day operations of the three groups that actually do the insuring of our members. And so we do everything from the financial reporting that we were just showing you to the investment management. We also employ all the staff members and provide staffing to each of the different groups. So a lot of managerial kinds of activities. So how do we pay for that? That's kind of the third bullet down. We do charge a trust and administrative fee to each one of our groups, and that is how the dollars are generated to support the activities of the central organizations that support all the different groups. And as a reminder, it is managed by a board of directors. As of last year, there were 8 different board members, 3 of them being the chief financial officers of the the 3 founding districts. All the other board members, though, are experienced in school districts and in financial matters as well as insurance matters. So they all come from the areas of specialty that we cover. Okay, so looking at the financials for the Valley Schools Management Group, it's a little bit different. You see they do look slightly different than the other groups. There is no individualized accounting by district because this really is an umbrella organization. And so these are actually our audited financial statements. They are on a modified cash basis too, so it's a very cash basis. So when we look at that, you can see that that management group has a much smaller net position. We have an unrestricted net position of almost $1.2 million. They do try to keep any kind of funding available with that to minimum. We want as many dollars as we can to be actually spent to support our programs. So if you look on the right-hand side, that's kind of the more familiar format. We looked at what the other different groups. So as I mentioned, the revenues for this organization come from the other organizations, so it's about $7.2 million last year. There are some other things on top of the trust administration. If you tried to add up the numbers, they won't add up exactly because we do provide some other smaller services to outside organizations. Things such as procurement training, construction services, those kinds of things, much smaller in extent though. So when you look at our operating expenses for the year, it was about $7.1 million, very similar to a school district. The number one operating cost that we had was salary and benefits, coming in at about $5.2 million. But this gives you a really good idea of the kinds of services this group adds. They have consultants that we have. Mr. Elliott had discussed some of those as he went through the different groups, as well as things like information technology, insurance for us, legal services, those kinds of things. So we take all those into account. We started the year with just over $1 million, and we ended the year with about $1.2 million. I think that is all the questions. All the slides.
Questions?
Do you want us to lead the questions or?
Yeah, no, thank you both. And Ms. Vesely, just as a reminder, we do have public comment tied to this line item. So we'll listen to that real quick and then get into board member question comments, okay?
And Ms. Vesely, I just want to make sure we're done with our presentation prior to taking the public comment.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. President Sandoval, members of the board, there's two parts to the presentation tonight. The first is looking at the annual report. It's a discussion item. There's no action on this. The second part is actually looking at our renewal for next year. And so that if that helps you with public comment,
Okay.
we would like to do the questions and answers, questions and comments for the first presentation. Then we'll go into the second presentation where we're going to look at the renewal for next year.
Gotcha. I mean, I have no idea what direction the public comment's going to come in.
Okay.
Yeah, we should
What it look
probably
like.
finish
So-
our presentation and then take the public comment.
Okay.
Does that work?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I just want to make sure, are there any questions on the information that was just presented?
Yeah, no, I think I have a few, but I'll let you, if it's okay, we can, and I guess that's my point. I mean, if public comment is tied to the first half, I don't know. I mean, we could certainly ask questions around the first part of the presentation and then let you present, then listen to public comment before we get into the, I guess, the vote, right?
Yes.
Does that work best for? Okay. That said, Dr. Sorensen, any questions, comments based on what was just presented?
No, sir. Thank you very much for putting that together for us.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Rooks?
No questions. Thank you again for putting that together. That was a great presentation.
Thank you, Mrs. Rooks. Mrs. Ewing?
I don't have any questions, and thank you for the detailed report.
Now, the only question I have, Ms. Vesely and Mr. Elliott, Ms. Felton, correct? Okay. When we take a look at our net position, and I believe it was slide 14, which talked about to offset future cost/increases.
Yeah, so that would have been under the Valley Schools Employee Benefit Group.
Yeah, so I guess my question is this. I mean, looking at some of the net position, the numbers are, the dollar amount is substantial, right? So my ask is really, how can we look at that dollar amount and apply it to subsidize our associates, our employees' premiums, right? Whether it to not increase their premiums or even pay some of their current premiums as associates without obviously putting the district in an adverse situation, right?
Right. And I do understand that is one of the positions you want to help support the activities of your school district. So what I would say particularly about the Valley Schools Employee Benefit Group, when you're a self-funded plan, there's kind of some professional standards and recommendations they make about net positions. So do you mind if I tell you a little bit about what that assumption is?
Sure.
Okay. So one of the things they like to talk about is, as I mentioned, on June 30th, you're still paying claims related to the old year for several more months. And so that's typically estimated at about 3 months. So what they recommend for a net position for an employee benefits kind of plan is they like to see 3 to 6 months of operating expenditures. So whatever your average operating expenditures are for 3 to 6 months, as well as the ability to pay those claims. They call that IBNR, incurred but not reported claims. And so when we look at that for your district in particular, and it is just an estimate, I will be honest, it's very hard to nail that down till all of the data is over. So when we look at that, that would run somewhere between about $7 to $13 million when we looked at operating expenditures for 3 to 6 months. And then the number that I mentioned about the rundown at the bottom, that's what we think are about 3 months of claims for you. So when you look at those numbers, that would, industry standard, mind you, we get to make our own decisions on top of that. That's one of the beautiful things about Valley Schools. It runs you about $11.5 million to $18.4 million. So you guys are right in there, but I have to tell you that's something we evaluate every year with your team is what's going on with your employees. What kind of increases do we see for premiums? What are you doing for salaries? Just what's going on actually in the classroom. So it is a conversation that we have. Does that answer your question at all? It's not, there's not a yes or no question. It's a lot of conversation as well as what we see for professional standards.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I know that the district and Valley Schools have been partners for many, many years. And one of the things that I continue to push for, and what I enjoy that, you know, our team continues to, I guess, focus on is, you know, people first mentality, right? And realizing those world-class benefits. But, you know, one of the public speakers earlier today talked about, you know, our associates' salaries, et cetera, and how just, you know, from an education perspective, I mean, there's still some opportunities there. So how can we as a district problem solve, right, in partnership with you, Valley Schools in this case, to take a look at the numbers to lessen, you know, some of that weight, if you will, from a financial perspective on the backs of our associates, right? So lessen that weight on their backs to lower those premiums so their monthly, you know, cash flow, if you will, is a little bit higher than what it is today.
If I could just speak to that just a little bit. It's as Ms. Felton indicated, we talk about this with our members each year, and some of the things is, hey, can we, if we're getting a 10%, can we make it a 5% increase to lessen the impact on the employees? Depending on how much you have in net position, and the answer can be yes, but the thing you also worry about and think about is, okay, we use that money that's there once because you got to cover that increase each year. And if your underwriter was right and you were really 10 and trend is 8, well, next year you're at 18. So it's a balancing act. Yes, you can do it. Members do it. Make little adjustments up or down. Sometimes it's what the district contributes, and sometimes they want to reduce those premiums, but it's an every year looking at it and looking at the factors and taking out your crystal ball.
And I'll, if I may, President Sandoval, members of the governing board, Dr. Reynolds, if we could go back to slide 15, please, with the financial summary, to look at that report. Over the years, Peoria Unified, in conjunction with Valley Schools, has looked at our net position, and where appropriate, we have used some of our net position to offset some of the renewal increases that we've incurred. In addition, you'll recall a few years back, we utilized some of that net position, held back part of our payment, and used some of those dollars for our ELA textbook adoption a number of years ago. So we are focused, where appropriate, to work with Valley Schools to request to use some of that net position to support not only our employees with the renewals, but in addition to that, learning opportunities, for example, with the textbook adoption. Also, I do believe that that dollar amount includes the impact of the prepayment with the actual revenue. So it seems actually higher than it actually is because we did make a prepayment for fiscal year 2022. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Ms. Myers. I mean, I think for me, again, I do believe we continue to strive for those world-class benefits for our associates, all 4,000 plus, right? All I can continue to ask, right, is as we work together and collaborate within this partnership between Valley Schools and the Peoria Unified School District is that we always continue to prioritize those individuals who really are the ones who make us look good on a daily basis, right? And I understand, when we look from an annual year-to-year basis, sometimes the priority isn't around, you talked about textbook adoptions, right? But, again, my ask is prioritizing the individuals that are in the field and who lift up our youth every day and who really make Peoria, put Peoria on its pedestal, and that being the reason why, families move to this city. Yep, thank you. Thank you for that. All right, Ms. Festley.
If we could please go to the next presentation as part of this agenda item. I'd like to welcome Mrs. Christy Davis up to present with me. We're going to now look at the 2023-2024 Employee Benefit Recommendations and Renewals. So as we look at our overview, we do have the medical plan options for employees and eligible dependents. We have our traditional PPO, as well as our high deductible base plan. And if you look at this, we see that we do have co-payments with the traditional PPO plan, deductibles, and co-insurance. With the HDHP base, what we have is, for the first option, $3,000 for the employee only, that's their deductible. $6,000 for the family, it's embedded. And then the out-of-pocket max is $4,500 for the employee and $9,000 for the family for this coinsurance after the deductible is met. It is compatible with health savings accounts with the $1,000 district contribution to the HSA with wellness options of $775. Part of our benefits and overview, you'll see up on the screen that we offer virtual visits. Again, that's 24/7 for non-emergency medical conditions. We offer the fever, rash, cold, flu, pink eye, sore throat, sinus problems. We also have Care 24 for our employees. This is a nursing line that's available 24/7. You can see a list of items below that our employees can call to speak to a nurse, a counselor, legal, or financial professional. And you can see the different options that our employees have for those conversations. As part of our Well Styles program, we have Well Styles through the Virgin Pulse Wellness Program. It is a point-based employee well-being program, and it incentivizes employees to earn either HSA dollars or gift cards for participation in the program. It depends on which, if you're part of the HDHP or whether you're part of the PPO. It does give employees the tools to get active, to think about healthy lifestyles. It includes mental health, diet and exercise, nutrition, again, sessions on stress management, sleep, and many more. There is also a wellness champion at each of our sites. As part of our plan for dental, we do have 2 options available for our employees and their eligible dependents. We offer the Delta Dental PPO Premier with the Checkup Plus. This is an open network that has about 3,000 dentists in the valleys that our employees can use. We also have the Cigna DHMO. This is a smaller network where if our employees choose this, they are picking a dentist within the Cigna plan and within that small network, and then they have to stay with that one dentist. And then you can see some of the offerings for each. As part of our vision coverage, we do have vision covered with United Healthcare. You'll see that there's eye exams, lenses, frames, diabetic retinal screening. We also offer short-term disability to all of our employees. It is a monthly income replacement in the event that you're unable to do or partial the total disability for up to 6 months. And this could be due to an accident or illness. And if an employee qualifies for short-term disability, they can elect up to 66 2/3% of their monthly pay. Next, we offer Colonial Life. This is some accidental hospital or critical illness insurance. It also includes cancer. There's coverage for both employees and dependents. The benefits are paid directly to the employee, and they can continue the coverage without premium increases if you were ever to retire and leave the district. We also have the FSA, which is a flexible spending account for our employees. It is a pre-tax dollar amount that's set aside. It allows employees to set aside this pre-tax dollars, again, for medical, dental, vision, and there's a maximum of $2,750 of their pre-tax dollars. We also have the FSA Dependent Care, and this allows employees to set aside pre-tax dollars that go specifically towards daycare needs, their expenses, and currently there's a maximum of $5,000 in that pre-tax dollar amount. We have an interface, an EAP, which is employer paid. This again is counseling for all employees. Whether you carry our benefits or whether you have benefits elsewhere, all employees are able to access the EAP. There's, again, counseling services, legal services, financial counseling, planning, work life and wellness resources. We also offer theft identity, all state identity protection. It is, again, employer paid. It's a comprehensive identity, credit, and digital monitoring and restoration programs that employees have the option to choose. And we also offer MetLife, the legal plans. This is an area for any of our employees that choose this to get legal advice. They are experts in wills, trusts, deeds, adoptions, any kind of legal advice that would be available to our employees that chose this option. As part of our life insurance, we do have the basic life employer, and it is employer paid. Peoria Unified School District provides all eligible employees with basic life, and it is one-time your base salary up to $75,000. There is also optional life and accidental death and dismemberment. You can see the different options below that are also included in this area of life insurance. Funeral planning, accelerated benefits, travel assistance. This year, our district plan renewal did have an increase. We had a renewal at 4.98%. That's about a little over $1 million increase due to the claims. The prior increase was 14.57%. Our budget team did look at this renewal increase, and they are recommending that a portion of this increase, or 2.49% of employees' proportionate share, become the employee's responsibility next year, which then reduces the district's portion of that increase. The estimated increase for employees district-wide is estimated to be $109,000. So as we get into our plan design recommendations, we'll see an increase in the high deductible plan from $2,800 to $3,000 for employee-only coverage and $5,600 to $6,000 for dependent coverage. And this is due to an IRS required inflation adjustment change. There's also the increase in maximum contributions allowed amount to the HSA accounts from $3,650 to $3,850 for single, and from $7,300 to $7,750 for the family. This is a maximum amount allowed to be placed in an HSA account from both the district and the employee combined. The increase on the FSA medical pre-tax dollars from $2,850 again to $3,050 is per IRS regulations and changes. So when we look here, this is our PPO plan. So we can see the employee only, employee and children, employee and spouse, family, dual family. You can see the total premiums. Then as you go across, you'll see the Peoria cost, the increase to Peoria, the percent that Peoria pays, and then you go to see the employee cost, the increase to the employee, and the percentage of what the employee would pay, excuse me. And as we see here, the maximum amount that our employees will see next year would be the family, $28.45. And so again, Peoria is paying a good portion. There is a slight increase for our employees, anywhere from $2 up to $28.45 per month. On our high deductible plan, again, you'll see the different categories, our employee only, employee children, spouse, family, dual family. You'll see the Peoria cost, the increase to Peoria. If you notice, employee only, there is zero cost to the employee for this plan. And then again, you'll see as you go down that there is a majority of the portion that Peoria pays. You'll see a slight increase to the employee with a maximum of, it looks about $10 for the family. Eligible for the 1,000 annual district contribution again, and they are also able to receive the wellness incentives. When we look at our rate increase, Sun Life Basic Life is going from about 58 cents to 61 cents per $1,000. This is a district cost. There are no rate increases or any additional supplemental offerings. So again, no rate increases to our dental, vision, short-term disability, the dependent care, interface, MetLife, Sun Life, Colonial Life. So we're very pleased to be able to share that there are some minor changes, but again, for the most part, there have been no rate increases. So at this time, we stand for any questions and comments, and we also ask that with the recommendation from the budget team, that you approve the renewal of our employee benefits and the recommendations for the 23-24 school year.
All right, thank you, Ms. Vesely. As stated earlier, we do have public comment tied to this, so listen to that, and we'll get into board questions and comments. Thank you. Thank you both. All right, public comment tied to this line item comes from Vanessa Eslin Blair.
All right, thank you. Superintendent, governing board, and cabinet members, I first want to thank all of the stakeholders involved in this process. I actually really enjoyed the presentations, all of them. I'm working on my third master's degree, which is an MBA in finance, and I actually really like learning this stuff. This is not something that was an easy task. I know that you would not present anything less than the best that we can do with the underwriters and the Valley School teams, so thank you. It is appreciated. I highly suggest to the board that there be a unanimous approval of these items. Not doing so could pose serious consequences and dire straits to the 32,000 employees of the district, which there in turn goes to 46,000 lives that this affects. This is a fiscally sound policy. As a single mom of 2 kids, I'm comfortable with paying those little bit of extra premiums. It's very negligible, and I'm happy with my coverage currently. The stakeholders have deliberated many hours over this, and what would be the best, they have brought that. Thank you again to the team and for your effort and dedication.
Thank you. All right, board members, questions, comments? Dr. Sorensen.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I think the medical system and insurance system in our country can be frustrating, but I appreciate the plan that we're putting together and appreciate all of the different ways in which people can be proactive about their health, because that's the very best way to avoid having significant money input into the system. So thank you for this presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen. Mrs. Rooks?
No questions, but thank you for presenting.
Thank you, Mrs. Rooks. Mrs. Ewing?
I don't have any questions. I just am really impressed with all of the different services that we do offer, all of the different options and so forth. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ewing. Yeah, I don't have any further questions either. I know from an economies to scale perspective and our partnership with Valley Schools, you know, they do put us in that best position to offer the best possible, you know, health benefit solutions for our associates. So, Ms. Myers, you and team, especially you and team, Valley Schools, you know, thank you for just continuing to collaborate and focus on, you know, the focus on people, you know, over anything else. So I appreciate that.
President Sandoval, members of the board, I would also just like to thank Christy Davis, who is here with me tonight. She standing up with me.
Oh,
She's
I'm
here
looking
with
around.
me.
She's right next to you.
She has a small but mighty team. She did have a team of 4 total. One left district recently. And so there are currently 3 in our benefits department holding down the fort. And Christy's been an integral part in helping us to get our presentation together. She works tirelessly for our health fairs. Her and her team go out, they listen to our employees and really try to bring good questions back to Valley Schools when we meet with them throughout the year. So, Christy, thank you for all of your work.
Yeah, Ms. Davis, thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, if no further questions, comments, I do need a motion to approve 10.2 Annual Valley Schools Financial Report for fiscal year 2022. Really more specifically, the approval of employee health benefits renewal for the 2023-2024 school year. I'll move that we approve the employee health benefits renewal for the 2023-2024 school year.
I will second that.
Ms. Contra, we have a motion made by myself, a second by Mrs. Ewing. Board members, please cast your votes. Motion passes with 4 yeas and 1 absent. Thank you, board members. Ms. Feshley, Ms. Davis, thank you both very much.
President Sandoval, may I just say, for all of our employees, open enrollment will open on Monday.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to 10.3, approval of rehire list for the issuance of letters of reasonable assurance for classified staff for the 2023-2024 school year. Ms. Feshley, welcome back. We do have public comment tied to this line item, so I'll let you present, and then we'll listen to public comment.
Thank you, President Sandoval, members of the board. I feel like this is the Human Resources show tonight, so thank you for putting up with me. I am excited tonight to bring forth our rehire list and the issuance of letters of reasonable assurance for all of our classified staff, both classified hourly and classified exempt. Again, we've had a team of probably anywhere between 5 and 8 people that have worked tirelessly behind the scenes. They've gone behind closed doors. It includes Mona Rodriguez in payroll, Christy Davis again in our benefits department, and Matthew Coley, Carmen Miranda, Jackie Cullinan from my department to go in and create all of these contracts and LORAs in our system. So tonight, we are asking that you approve the rehire list so that we may publish our letters of reasonable assurance for our classified staff tomorrow morning.
All right, very good. Thank you for that. Public comment? Comes from Vanessa Aslin-Blair. Welcome back.
Thank you, Superintendent, Governing Board, and Cabinet. First, I really want to thank HR again and all the stakeholders involved for this process for this list. I know that this list, all of the employees are eligible for rehire, and voting to not approve this would put our staff in difficult positions. I know HR would never do anything to violate laws and have done their due diligence to give due process if any was needed. Any complaints that anyone may have may have should follow proper procedures to make sure their voices are heard. However, just because someone is unhappy with the results doesn't justify continual complaint and violation of the Constitution. Due process must be given. Again, all employees on this list are eligible for rehire, and I urge the board to unanimously approve this item. I honestly never thought I would have to say this, ever. And again, I thank HR wholeheartedly for all of their work and all of their efforts and their due diligence, and all of the stakeholders. I know that you guys care about our staff and our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Board members, questions, comments? Dr. Sorensen?
No, sir.
Mrs. Rooks?
No, thank you.
Mrs. Ewing?
No questions.
I don't have any questions either. With that said, I do need a motion to approve 10.3, the rehire lists for the issuance of letters of reasonable assurance for classified staff for the 2023-2024 school year. I'll move that we approve the rehire list for the issuance of letters of reasonable assurance for classified staff for the 2023-2024 school year.
I will second.
Ms. Contra, we have a motion made by myself and a second by Mrs. Rooks. Board members, please cast your votes. Motion passes with 4 yeas and 1 absent. Thank you, board members. All right. Thank you, Ms. Vesely. No discussion items this evening, so we'll move down to informational reports. 12.1, report on upcoming events and meetings. Ms. Harry.
President Sandoval, members of the board, there are far too many events to list this evening. I see we don't have the report included in your packet tonight, but rest assured, Mrs. Contra will make sure you have a listing of all the upcoming events. And as always, we look forward to having you with us as we celebrate many positive things as we inch closer to the end of the school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harry. 12.2, legislative, state, and local updates. Ms. Myers.
Yes, thank you. Good evening again, President Sandoval, members of the Governing Board, and Dr. Reynolds. Today marks the 95th day of the 2023 56th Legislature first regular session. Technically, Arizona has no fixed end date for the legislative session, and last year, the legislative session ended in late June. So far this session, 157 bills have passed, 48 bills have been vetoed, and 53 bills have been signed. At this time, there are approximately 350 bills that are still alive and awaiting action in the House and Senate. In addition to tracking bills, public school districts are watching to see when the final fiscal year 2024 State of Arizona budget will be approved. Throughout the session, there has been action related to the budget, first starting with Governor Hobbs' budget, $17.1 million that was proposed on January 13th. And then a month later, the House and Senate did vote along party lines in favor of a $15.8 million package that Governor Hobbs subsequently vetoed. There may be action related to the budget in the next several weeks, and so we're anxiously watching. However, we know that this work can last until the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th. In fact, last year, this was the case when the Arizona legislature approved a bipartisan $18 billion spending plan on June 23rd, 2022. And so with that, we'll continue to update you as more information becomes available, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Myers, for that. All right, moving on to 12.3, budget, facilities, planning, and construction reports. This report is on our website for your viewing at your convenience. 12.4, district budget report for the month of February 2023, also on our website. 12.5, district enrollment reports for the month of February 2023, also on our website, again, where you can view at your convenience. Moving on to section 13, other business. 13.1, board member opportunity to readdress agenda items. Dr. Sorensen, any items you'd like to readdress, sir?
No, sir.
Mrs. Rooks?
No, thank you.
Mrs. Ewing?
No, thank you.
I don't have any either. All right, 13.2, request for agenda items for future governing board meetings. Dr. Sorensen?
No, sir.
Mrs. Rooks?
I do have 3 I would like to request for future agenda items. The first one is this physical privacy policy for the situation with the bathrooms. I'd like to put this specific policy here on the next board meeting, April 27th for a first read, and then for May 11th for a second read.
To Dr. Reynolds, correct me if I'm wrong, do we not have a request for an item around this subject, or?
We do. We'd have to work with the president and the clerk to figure out what that would look like for a future meeting.
So how that gets added? So I guess what I'm saying is, I mean, trying to figure out, does this item, can it be automatically added to that subject, or do we need to kind of go through this formal process to have it added to that future governing board line item that's already been requested? That make sense?
I think you can add it to the list, and we can, with the president and with the clerk, decide what that will look like for a future agenda item.
Yeah, for me, I mean, we need a second to formalize this, but for me, I think we need other sets of eyes to take a look at this, including, legal, et cetera. And, again, not opposed to looking at it, but, yeah, we just need a second for it to add this to the list. All right. Don't have a second on that, Ms. Rooks. You had a couple other items?
Yes, I would like to request the Title IV-A grant, kind of what the district is going to want to propose for that specific grant relating to safety measures. And then I guess the EdPoint multi-tiered system software program that we, I guess, are working through. I kind of would like to request some information on that and how that is going to be used in the district with, data collected and the purpose of it.
So you have 2 items there, right? One is on
Yes.
Title IV, is that correct?
Yes, Title IV.
And tied to the school safety grant?
Yeah, kind of Title IV-A has, it's basically safety measures, school safety. So that's the one I was wanting to look at.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll second that. And sorry, what was the last one?
It was I guess we are looking at purchasing a software program through EdPoint. It's a multi-tiered system of support software program. So just kind of wanted some more information regarding that.
You okay with that being like a Friday report to get that more information? Then maybe we can take it.
Yes.
Dr. Reynolds, does that work? Yep. Okay. Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Contra. Yep. Mrs. Ewing.
This could probably come in a report, but the accident that happened outside of, between Sunset and Liberty, we had somebody requesting, anyway, I just want to make sure that we're working with city council or the city to address any future, the safety of that area. And certainly, I don't think that's really anything the board can do, but if there was any way for us to do something to dedicate to that student, I think that, or encourage the schools to work together to honor that student in some way. So I don't know if that's just a report on.
Yeah, I think we'll.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that that's an agenda item, but we can certainly provide
just like
information
a
on
Friday
it.
report would be fine.
I'll second that.
Anything else, Mrs. Ewing?
That's all, thank you.
All right, no, you're good. Ms. Contra, I have a couple, Mr. Molina, you might want to, I might need your assistance just kind of framing this, but I'd like to see on a future governing board in a future governing board meeting, not a study session, us taking a look at going back to an in-house model as it relates to custodial type services, and what that looks like, and maybe even if we take a phased approach. But I mean, how can I help kind of frame that so it's helpful and you're successful? Just does that work?
Yes, sir, President Sandoval, members of the governing board, Dr. Reynolds. I'll work with Ms. Myers, and we'll do a financial analysis and comparative and bring back a return on investment and just an analysis of what we're spending on custodial services and the feasibility of bringing it back in-house and how that will impact a future budget.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I do need a second.
I'll second that.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you, Ms. Ricks. And the last item is just, Dr. Reynolds, I think you already have this on your radar. I mean, we are, exiting or have exited, Q3, semester 2, and just wanting to take a look at kind of the state of the district, or just where we're at across, all measures from an academic perspective, across our entire sites, district. And even, Mr. Moss also added a kind of a growth factor, into that success, right? I mean, academics, yes, but we also would like, at least I would like to see, students how they're growing as well, right? There's just so much to unpack, with our students, and just each one has a different story, right? And also within that, can we take a look at, what the district is currently doing to ensure student success? And what we're looking at doing to maybe overcome some of those opportunities or gaps. I know that's a lot, but I believe it's on your radar. That is something definitely that I think a study session would make sense. It gives us a little more time, intimate, and I think it's warranted to have a very in-depth conversation around that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something we probably would do, either in the retreat setting. Obviously, we have to wait for the data to come in,
right,
which is many months away. So, but it is absolutely on our radar every single day.
Perfect. Now I'll just need a second to formalize that if.
I'll second that.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Ewing. All right. Moving on to section 14, adjournment. I do need a motion to adjourn this meeting at 8:39 p.m.
I will motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:39.
I'll second that. Ms. Contra, I have a motion made by Ms. Ewing and a second by myself. Board members, please cast your votes. All right, motion passes. 4 yeas, 1 absent. Thank you, board members. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening. Stay safe.